The Kudzukian Network presents Riffin on Jazz with your host, Howard Robertson and Malvin Massey.
Sonny Rollins.
You got to improve, man. You got Coltrane and Ornette Coleman and these boys coming up. You better get your stuff together.
Mr. Miles Davis.
White people are funny. In America, they thought that I just woke up one morning and had the blues and started playing the trumpet. But it don't go like that, and you can't explain that to them.
Miles was able to make something that was wrong into something that was right.
Now they know. I'm not an accident.
It's been a week, but we're still kicking and still riffing on jazz. I'm Howard Robertson.
And I'm Malvin Massey.
And you know, Riffin on Jazz is your weekly visit with friends, talking about the music that we love.
It is that classic African-American art form called jazz.
My man.
How you do, Howard Robertson?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. A fun show today, man.
Interested in this, yes. I think this is going to be
Tell them the name
fun.
of it.
You and your names. Busy with Dizzy.
Busy with Dizzy. Guess who we're talking about? This dude with the big cheeks, cat named Dizzy Gillespie that you may have heard of, plays a little trumpet.
Yeah.
And we're going to get started, speaking of playing a little trumpet, with the first, very, very, very first recorded trumpet solo he ever played.
King Porter Stomp. This is Riffin on Jazz. We're busy with Dizzy. Talking about Dizzy Gillespie. You just heard music from King Porter Stomp. That was Teddy Hill and his NBC orchestra from the complete RCA Victor recordings, which was remastered in 1994, but originally recorded in 1937.
But most importantly, it was Dizzy Gillespie's first trumpet solo, right?
Yeah.
Recorded trumpet solo.
His first professional gig was with Frank Fairfax Orchestra in 1935, and then he joined Edgar Hayes Orchestra and later Teddy Hill, replacing Frankie Newton on second trumpet. In 1937, Teddy Hill's band was where he made his first recording, King Porter Stomp, August 1937.
But before that, John Burke's Dizzy Gillespie was born in 1917, the youngest of 9 children, in Chirao, South Carolina. And he taught himself, Malvin, to play trumpet and trombone by the age of 12. So that actually
it makes him a prodigy.
It makes him a prodigy, a self-taught prodigy, but it also explains his style. It explains why he puffs his cheeks out, because he started as a kid, and that's what he did to take in air. That's where he kept the air that he took in, as opposed to his chest. You know, trained trumpet players do not.
They don't blow their cheeks out.
No.
No.
No. But he trained himself, and he got a scholarship to a place that I'm very, very familiar with. It is called the Laurinburg Institute. Laurinburg Institute is one of the original black boarding schools. Before there were public schools for us, before we were even being educated in churches and whatnot, there were these boarding schools. And this one is in Laurinburg, North Carolina, because it still exists. As a matter of fact, I'm a board member.
Is that right?
Of Laurinburg Institute. And so he got a music scholarship at a very, very young age there, and stayed there for 2 years in the band until his parents moved to Philadelphia. So
all the musicians come back.
Out of Pennsylvania, either Philly or Pittsburgh. Yeah. So we are just taking a deep dive and getting. I can't say getting busy with Dizzy. We're busy with Dizzy. That's something else altogether. But we are gonna get into what we getting into. Where's my paper?
This is Salt Peanuts.
Oh man!
Now this is he and Charlie Parker.
The classic.
This is when they introduced bebop to the big audience.
Check this out. Salt Peanuts, the first bebop hit.
Salt peanuts. Salt peanuts, 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 salt peanuts.
Yes. Salt Peanuts. How could people play that fast?
You know, and they had to do it. They were forced to change the style because they were losing gigs because other bands were starting to take over the style, the swing style of music, so hard that they were getting pushed out.
So
of
they
gigs.
wanted to do something different, so they started playing at lightning speed.
Yeah, and that's how they created that bebop. It was a matter of changing and following chords and adding numbers, adding notes to chords.
Right.
Charlie Parker was good at that.
Good.
And Diz could do it
Gracious.
on the trumpet too.
That's incredibly fast. So Dizzy Gillespie was what one writer called an immortal joker.
Yeah.
This cat was funny on his own without even trying. This is like somebody that you might have had in your neighborhood growing up, somebody that you might have had in school, somebody that you might have known. Well, heck, it could have been a sibling or a relative or yourself. But, I mean, just funny. He would stand in front of audiences and just look a certain way and just break everybody up.
Yeah.
And then he always played jokes.
That's where he got that nickname.
Yeah.
Dizzy Gillespie.
Yeah.
You know, that track, that was the introduction of bebop, by the way. That track, that Salt Peanut.
You said that.
He and Charlie Parker, to a small group, in one of his small groups, they played at New York's Town Hall on June 22nd, 1945. And that was the first time they presented bebop to an audience.
Very cool. Very cool.
Took off after that.
Today we are busy with Dizzy, the immortal, incomparable Dizzy Gillespie, and we're getting into the next cut. It is called Hot House. Riffin on Jazz, Hot House,
from 1945. Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie.
Still playing fast.
Yeah, but that was a little different. The tempo of the song was medium up tempo, and them solos.
They were still flying. Still flying. Busy with Dizzy. Talking about Dizzy Gillespie and the music and the contributions to jazz that he made. And, they make us drink, y'all.
Well.
They make us drink wine specifically.
Yeah.
And tonight, what are we drinking, Malvin?
This one is Cocoa Bond.
Cocoa Bond.
Your stolen melody. Vinny, yeah, Cocoa Bond, red blend out of California. It's very tasty.
Yeah, very, very good. And so we lift libations to life, love, and jazz. And remember, if you happen to miss any Riffin on Jazz show and want to check us out, check out a full episode, please do on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Kudzukian.com, or your favorite podcast provider, or you can always just text for just 4 letters, RIFF. Text it to 72,000 and watch what happens. You're listening to Riffin on Jazz on the Kudzukian Network. We'll be back after this. R&R on Sports is proud to be on Sirius XM.
So what's R&R stand for?
Real talk and relevant sports issues.
It's racial and relative. We're brothers from the South. We can relate.
R&R on Sports on the Kudzukian Network.
This is Virginia White of Earth, Wind and Fire, and you're listening to Riffin on Jazz, powered by the Kudzukian Network.
Busy with Dizzy. That's what we're dealing with today on Riffin on Jazz, and we're glad you're here. Malvin, so Dizzy used to say always about his idol, Louis Armstrong, know him, know me.
Yeah.
Know him, know me. He had all of the respect and deference and gave deference to Louis Armstrong, as so many jazz artists do, but him particularly because obviously he was a trumpet player.
Yeah.
So now before we get, I got a story for you, but before we get into that, do you know how Dizzy came to play a trumpet with the bell turned up?
As a matter of fact, I knew that was going to come up.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you prepared for it, right?
Look it up.
Tell the people how that happened.
His trademark bell, it was bent upward at 45 degrees, instead of pointing straight ahead. According to his autobiography, it was originally the result of an accidental damage caused by dancers, Stump and Stumpy, falling onto his horn while it was on its trumpet stand on the stage at Snooki's in Manhattan on January the 6th, 1953, during a birthday party for his wife, Lorraine.
The trumpet fell off the stand on the floor and the folks danced on it.
Yeah. And it caused it to bend up and it altered the tone, and he liked it. He got it fixed the next day, but he liked it because he played the rest of the night.
And he played the rest of the night with it turned up like that.
And he got it fixed, but he liked that sound. He got one made. And,
so now you know how Dizzy's horn got to be turned up like that. But it is said that I think at the 1958 Monterey Jazz Festival, which I believe, Malvin, was the very, very first Monterey Jazz Festival that was ever held. They were backstage talking about, well, who's going to start the show? I don't know who's going to go out first. How are we going to start the show? And Dizzy said, hey, I got this. And he went out on stage and he played the Star Spangled Banner to open up the show. And the first act on the show was Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong came on stage. Dizzy Gillespie got down on his knees and kissed his hand as he walked by, like he was kissing his ring, right?
Yeah.
And people said that Dizzy was clowning, and he took some heat for clowning, but people they were told by people who knew he was not joking. That was not an act. He has that much deference
respect for Louis Armstrong.
and respect for Louis Armstrong because, as he said, know him, know me.
Yeah. An innovator.
Totally. Busy with Dizzy is where we are, and we are going into this next cut, which I love. This cut is called Groovin' High, Dizzy Gillespie.
Groovin' High, Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, 1947. And that was considered to be, by some people, the best Dizzy solo on Groovin' High ever. Of all the times he recorded it, that was supposed to be
the best
solo.
one.
Some people think. Anyway.
Wow.
But that's pretty cool. I like that song anyway.
Yeah, that's a very cool song. So Dizzy had a way, as we have said, he was comical. When Dizzy played, it looked like two giant balloons. His cheeks looked like two, like two balloons being blown up. But he used that for effect, but his musicianship was no less compromised. I mean,
look,
he
we
was
go
still
to this book that was written, The Great Encounters, when Cab Calloway and Dizzy Gillespie fought over thrown spitball. So we're going to talk about that story. But for what you just mentioned, so Milt Hinton wrote this. Milt Hinton was bass player with Cab Calloway when Diz was playing with him. And he said, he was talking about Diz when he first came to them, and he was a kid. He was new. And he said that Diz's music was, he said at first Diz didn't have a dime. So some of us helped him out, and they helped him get a mouthpiece because his was messed up. But he said Diz's music was revolutionary. Even back then, he was playing way ahead of time. But only a couple of us who had ears to listen. His best musical problem was he was trying to play things he couldn't technically handle.
Wow.
And some solos he couldn't finish, and Cab used to get on his case. But it was because they couldn't understand what he was doing because it was so radical.
So he and Cab Calloway had a tumultuous relationship, to say the least.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
We're going to get into something that you are absolutely going to recognize. You will know this. That's Sweet Georgia Brown. One word, Malvin. Smoking. Sweet Georgia Brown.
You know, these cats put the heat on everybody.
Yeah.
Playing like that. That was Coleman Hawkins
right
in there with them. I mean, no, it wasn't Coleman Hawkins. It was Lester Young.
Lester Young, yeah.
Lester Young, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie. They had the piano player, Mel Powell. Man.
Okay.
He was smoking. Charlie Ventura was on tenor. Al Killian on trumpet. Diz on trumpet. Willie Smith on alto. That was those cats, you know, it was like you saying, that was Czech music.
It's like Czech music.
When they started doing that,
Absolutely.
you know, everybody else had to tighten up,
yeah,
man.
It's like, you play that and drop the mic, kick the mic over and walk off. That is, we are busy with Dizzy, talking about the music of Dizzy Gillespie today. And we want to thank all of you who listen to us, and you tell us that you hear us, and you tell us how much you enjoy the show. And we really appreciate hearing that. And we like to give shout outs. And today we want to say hello and thank you to Hernan Alberto from El Salvador.
All right, and Esther Towles from Chicago, Illinois.
Ron Boozer from Memphis, Tennessee.
Edwin Sankey from Los Angeles, California.
And Renoj Troca from Guatemala City, Guatemala.
You got it.
We are riffing on jazz. You are the you are the expert at accents.
You're too kind.
Mr. Accents. We're riffing on jazz on the Kudzukian Network. We'll be back with more after this.
Hey, I'm Williams Brack, co-host of Grind Set. The insight you gain from us and our guests will motivate you to take the leap into entrepreneurship. So stay with us. What's your grind set? And if you happen to miss some of our episodes, make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast provider.
Grind Set on the Kudzukian Network. Kudzukian!
Riffing on jazz. Busy with Dizzy. And we are enjoying some great music because Dizzy Gillespie did have that penchant for putting out great music.
That's right.
Performing with great artists. He also he was a jokester too.
Clowning. Playing cards with some guys, one of whom was Italian, and said that Dizzy pulled his knife out, very ceremoniously stuck it into the table, in the middle of the card table, and he said, "It's for you so-and-sos that might try to mess with me." And said his Italian friend took out a dime and put it right next to the knife and said, "This is for you so-and-sos that if you try to mess with me, for somebody to call the mafia."
All right, now that's cute. But you know, he was notorious for his knife.
Yes.
He got kicked out of Cab Calloway's band because of his knife.
Because of his knife?
There was we mentioned it earlier that he played with Cab Calloway's band, and that's when he was getting more innovative and all that, and he was a kid. There was a special part of the show that they did at the Cotton Club. Mm-hmm. And it's 4 spotlights on the stage for the guys performing. Mm-hmm. Well, they would perform, somebody threw a spitball. Diz was back at the back. He was sitting back there with the trumpet player.
And did what? Hit Cab?
He was working with Milt Hinton. He had been coaching Milt. Okay. And so Milt had looked back to see, if he did good. And Diz was holding his nose.
Uh-huh.
He thought, somebody threw a spitball that landed on the stage in front of the spotlight. Cab Calloway got mad and thought Diz did it. Diz said he didn't do it. And Milt said it all the time. Cab be fussing at him like he was his daddy, but Milt just put his head down. This time, Diz wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. He's like, "No, I didn't throw no spitball." Mm-hmm. The argument got louder and louder. Cab Calloway slapped him.
Whoa.
Diz pulled his knife out, and swung at his stomach. And used it. Swung at him, and Milt Hinton blocked him from cutting him across his stomach. And Cab Calloway grabbed his hand, and somehow another Cab got cut on the arm and on his pants leg. His pants leg turned red. He had white suits on. He told Diz to get his stuff and get out. And it was years later when they finally made up for all of that, and come to find out it was the trumpet player that was sitting next to Diz that threw the spitball.
Busy with Dizzy. Oh man, that's funny. That's funny. But now we're gonna get into the Latin and the Cuban influence on Dizzy's music. There wasn't anything bigger than this one.
Manteca.
Now this is the first time in jazz that the bass player wasn't playing boom, 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 boom. This is the first time, because I hadn't heard none of the bass, all the bass players were talking about boom, 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 boom. So Channel said the bass player first, power, boom, 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 boom.
Manteca.
Love that. And him describing how he and Chano Pozo, how he came up with that with Chano Pozo.
Yes.
Yeah, because he worked with his big bands. That was when he got started in the big bands and stuff, too. He's creating his big bands.
But that whole Afro-Cuban feel was a big part of his career, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It took. He kind of created it, as a matter of fact, the Afro-Cuban jazz. In the late 40s. He got involved in a movement called the Afro-Cuban jazz music, Afro-Cuban music. And that's when he brought it around. He and Chano Pozo, who played, he played in his band. He and Chano played with Mario Bowser. He played with him too, his trumpet player. But they played together in Mario Pozo's band in New York City in the jazz clubs on 52nd Street. That's what it was. At the Palladium, the Apollo in Harlem. They all played together in Chick Webb's band, which was Ella Fitzgerald's band, actually, because Chick Webb had passed away. They all played together, and they started hitting those different beats. And then he told you how in the start of that one, he was talking about how just getting that beat started. When Chano did, he started adding things a little differently here, a little differently.
Hey.
Innovative. Miles said he created jazz 3 times. Diz was right there with him.
Busy with Dizzy. We're going to talk a little bit about Dizzy's love life, which was a little complex too. Now, he had his wife of, I guess, many years, a lot of years, right?
Oh, yeah, Lorraine. Yeah, Milt said that he was buzzing around Lorraine in 36 when he first joined with Count Cab Calloway's band.
Oh,
and they got married right along then, a little bit after that.
So around in the late 30s.
Yeah, 36 as a matter of fact.
Well, around 1953, later on at Birdland in New York, he met this young girl named Connie Bryson. And when I say young girl, I do mean young girl because she was in high school.
Okay.
Now, it is said by her, she says that she was madly in love with him, but he never touched her until after she turned 18 years old. Now, that's what she said. But they had an affair, a relationship, and a baby. She didn't think that he could father a child, and so Dizzy fooled her. And they had a baby whose name was Janine, I think, or Jeannie.
Yeah.
Bryson. So, but we're going to get into the main motivation for this next tune, which is named after his wife.
Lorraine. Yeah. So there you have it. Diz went from the swing bands to small groups. Then he got his big band going, and that was with a symphony. Symphony Sessions.
Yeah.
Lorraine from Dizzy Gillespie, Symphony Sessions. That was in 1989.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about a complex relationship, which is actually kind of funny that he had with Cap Calloway. Now, he also had a very interesting and complex relationship with Miles Davis. So
who didn't?
Yeah. So Miles didn't go in for showmanship.
No.
And he didn't have a lot of respect for it and anybody who did it. So Miles actually harbored a problem, some animosity against both Louis Armstrong and Dizzy Gillespie because he thought in his mind they were, as my grandma used to term, cooning for white people when they performed.
Yeah.
And so he had a problem with that. And subsequently, he had a problem with both Dizzy and Louis Armstrong.
But he did say he understood why they did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
He came to the realization that they are performers, they are showmen, and they do what they want to do and feel like they need to do to make the audience comfortable and welcome.
Right on.
So that's what he did.
Did it for a lot of years. Diz did his last recording session January 25th, 1992. And the CD was released, as a matter of fact, from that time. The last one that he did, it was called Bird Song.
Bird Song.
Yeah, it was the last recording that he did, but he passed away in 93, the age of 75.
From cancer.
Pancreatic cancer.
Right. And we're going to get out of here with perhaps the most legendary tune that he penned himself and is known for. That would be A Night in Tunisia. We appreciate you being here with us on Riffin on Jazz. Malvin, if we were cheese, they might call us aged.
And, if we were cars, they may call us classic. If we were wine, they may call us vintage.
But we call ourselves blessed and very highly favored to be with you here on Riffin on Jazz. We appreciate it. I'm Howard Robertson.
And I'm Malvin Massey.
So please be good, be well, and be back with us without fail next week for more Riffin on Jazz. Y'all be good.
Riffin on Jazz. Executive produced by Kudzukian. Co-host by Howard Robertson and Malvin Massey Jr. Music curation by Howard and Malvin. And recorded at Kudzukian Studios. Riffin on Jazz. Part of the Kudzukian Network.
Thank you.